Hi, I'm Suzanne and welcome to our garden. My husband Michael and I bought this property 15 years ago with the intention that we would retire here. And 5 years ago we got that dream to come true. So we're retired and we love our garden, we love our space, and this year more than ever we have enjoyed having a tranquil place to be and something to keep us busy. So come on. Let's look at the garden. Our first little area is, I call it the woodland garden. We only own a few feet off to the side beyond these rocks, but my neighbors are very happy with any additions I'd like to make to the space. And I'm like a goldfish. I tend to grow to the size of my bowl. So we've diddy-dotted, as we call it, certain things here and there. And I'm a big fan of popping lime green leaves and texture. We have a lot of flowers, but I also just like contrast and things that just keep your eye moving along. And I call some of those, like the Aurelia, there's two, a little light in the woods. We kind of divide our property for our purposes. We kind of say it's in three sections. This is the quiet area. So when we're by ourselves or if someone is visiting, if you choose to just be quiet and not have a lot of interruption, come out here, read your book, have a cup of coffee, enjoy. You can listen to the birds. It's just a very calming area. And this we refer to just, again, green in textures, but it's my pond of Pachysandra. And as we move through the garden, we have just a little shady area here. And most of my plants, some are purchased, some were on the property. A lot of them are from friends or from neighbors, and we share. My neighbor had a bunch of hostas on the side of her property, and they were all overgrown, and I said, can I divide and take some of those home? And she said, have at it, take as many as you'd like. And I took her up on that. My latest little experiment is we had to paint the house, so a tiny cedar tree planted itself right outside the garage door. So 2 years ago, 3 years now, it'll be the third summer, we just had to dig it up and get it out of the way so they could paint. So I actually stuck it way back here in a place where I saw light filtering in, and it's very happy in its new spot. And some of the old trees might not last forever, so having a little cedar in waiting is a good thing. And this part of our garden we just call the tranquil part of the garden. I do yoga, I do meditation. My husband just likes to get out and have some me time to himself, and this is his thing. We have a little pond, little water feature, and he has fish. And he does everything to do with the pond. So when we previously lived in Connecticut, we had a water feature, and he really, really wanted to bring his fish with him. So we went to Walmart and got a plastic tote and a little bubbler and put them in it and put them in the back of the car and drove them down here and had a space built just for them. I think the next part of the garden, we just call this kind of the bird garden or the pollinator garden. This attracts birds, bees, beneficial insects, butterflies. We have a patio up here, and on that patio, that's where we call the loud patio. If you want to, have conversation and be social, the patio to my left is really the place to go. But the best part of the patio is the view from the patio. And we encourage the birds. I don't put out a hummingbird feeder, but we've had a bunch of them this year. So whatever they're finding here, they're loving. And then I have just a little utility area back there. I said that's where I do my mad science for gardening. And this, I don't know why, but this is what we'd call the little pocket garden. It's outside of our bedroom windows, and it always has a little something. Again, it's more texture than anything else, but we just like having it to look out the window and have a little bit of privacy, but then, you can peek through and see the pond and so forth. But my husband named it the pocket garden, and that name stuck. And again, this is the patio area. These hostas actually were from about a dozen hostas that were in back of the garage when we first bought the house 16 years ago. And I have just kept dividing and moving and dividing and moving, and now they surround the whole corner. And we kind of include this in the bird garden, this is part of it. This is one of our favorite features in the garden, and actually the fish in the pond need some shade in the hot afternoon. So my husband had this tree put here to shade his fish. Last year, unfortunately, it completely defoliated. It was a combination of, we think it could have been a root issue, or it was environmental. It was just wet, and then it was very dry and humid, and it was bare. But we stuck with it, and we decided that not to cut it down and to just live with this skeleton and see if it could revive. And this year, it's coming back. It's got beautiful leaves. It's got buds, so we have hope. This is a beautiful hemlock. We have a couple of beautiful hemlocks, and in a storm about 10 years ago, we lost a giant one that was in this area, and it left such a hole, and it changed the whole feel of the property because there was just this no screening between us and the people in back. And it was suggested to us we get these arborvitae, and they're called green giant, and they grow 3 feet a year. So we put them in, and they've done their job, but they make a lovely screening and also a really pretty backdrop for the bird garden. And beyond that, there was one other tree that snapped off, and we planted cryptomeria. It's a different kind of evergreen, and it has, some people might be familiar with umbrella pines, which kind of have a similar feel, where the branches kind of go up and splay out and look like little umbrellas. So again, just like in the woodland garden, we don't really own all the way to the road, but I have decided that, a lovely corner is a great thing to share with neighbors. So I've taken bits and pieces of things throughout the property and started planting along, and I keep adding a few more things and a few more things, and we have a lot of folks in this neighborhood who run and bicycle and walk their dogs, and they have all commented that they've been enjoying the corner. And here we are in the front of the property, and we really started, when we moved in, we really started right in front of the house, and there wasn't anything much. There were a few things here and there, And actually a lot of them we moved and they're in the back of the house now. The red maple was here, which is just a beautiful, beautiful little miniature tree. But everything else we put in, and we did it just a little at a time. It's been 15 years. We've kind of, I believe, again, in dividing and reusing and repurposing and sharing. So we did all of this front section, and we did do some hardscape. We needed to have a walkway put in. But then, you know, I got standing here looking at the property, and on the other side of the garage, there wasn't really anything. It was quite uncivilized. But if you'll notice, everything that's on the front garden is on the side garden, because all of the baby plants that I could find in here have now been transplanted to the other side. And one of the other things people often ask about is this, which is a dappled willow. It's a Japanese willow. It was purchased, one of the first things that I purchased when we started doing our gardening, and it was this big in a little pot, and I brought it home and stuck it in the center, and I thought, well, I'll kind of just build around it. And it said on the tag, and I still have the tag, it might get 5 foot tall. Well, I'm 5'3", and it has kind of gone with my philosophy. This goldfish is growing to the size of its bowl. And last year I actually had to have somebody come and help trim it, because I've always done it. I get on a ladder and I trim, and it was so tall and so thick. I was leaning into it to trim and almost just went diving head first, and I said, okay, time out. You need help. So that's the tour. I thank you so much for sharing the garden today with me. I hope that you've enjoyed some of the history of the garden and a little bit of the color and the fun. We try to keep it very, very casual. And I also thank you for supporting the Cross Mills Library. It's a stunning gem, a wonderful little gem in our town. And I know that we all love it, and this is a really nice way to show that.